2-touch-10 sign.
You are wrongly arrested.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, the Labour Party comes up with a new shark. And here we see that there is somebody leaked a dossier revealing that the Home Office plans to revive non-crime hate incidents. For any of you confused about what a non-crime hate incident is, a non-crime hate incident is a complete block on free speech. That's what it really is. And this non-crime hate incident expression should be termed shut your mouth rule. And it refers to anything that anybody at any time, in any place, at any part of the world might find they disagree with. And they can report that as something that causes them fear and distress. And there you have it. It's on your record thereafter. Hello, I'm Granniopteryx and I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. This Alison Pearson row struck me as very strange to start with. She was accused of liking or passing on somebody else's tweet about some people who it turns out weren't the people she thought they were, or something. The nuts and bolts of that particular case don't bother me. What really interested me and what we should really look out for is that Alison Pearson found on, I think, Remembrance Day, a couple of police officers on her doorstep telling her that she had to go to the police and make a statement about a crime or a non-crime or whatever she committed. There were a couple of things, there were several things wrong with this. The first is that the police originally said she'd been accused of one thing, and then it turned out later on they'd upped the accusation from a non-crime hate incident to a crime, but she wasn't told that at the time. That's the first thing. The second thing is it caused a fuss only because Alison Pearson is a well-known journalist. She did what many other people have done and have had their lives ruined by this black mark on their record. Oh, sorry, we're not allowed to say black mark anymore, are we? Blue mark? Yeah, well, maybe a blue mark from the police, you see. But the fact is, she was accused of one crime or non-crime, and then the record went down as a crime. Oh. Life is getting very confusing now. So that's the first thing that was wrong. And the second thing that was wrong was that the fuss happened because Alison Pearson is a bit of a journalistic superstar. Ordinary people get that sort of treatment all the time and they get mangled through the system. But because Alison Pearson was accused of it, it caused some second thinking, and finally the whole thing was dropped. But it wasn't dropped because they said it was wrong. It was dropped because they realised that Alison was too hot a potato to handle. And but despite that, the government is like elastic, snapping back into position. Police should record more non-crime hate incidents, a leaked Home Office report has recommended, despite a row sparked by Telegraph journalist Alison Pearson. So Yvette Cooper is reverting to type. And by that, I mean that a socialist government will always depend on controlling the population. Now, you notice we're not hearing a lot about Rachel Reeves recently. She is our Chancellor of the Exchequer, and she has put a load of taxes on people and caused a lot of upheaval in the British economy. One of the problems she has discovered is that when she has taxed the very rich who are living here, the non-doms and those sorts of people, they've simply upped sticks and moved. They're out the country. Now, not only are you not getting a small amount of tax from them, you're not getting anything at all. And you're not getting their get up and go, because their get up and go got up and went. And what's happened is Reeves has discovered that you can only work a high-tax socialist economy in a sort of way. It will only slightly work if you can stop the people from leaving the country. And that's the one thing that this government haven't succeeded in stopping yet. I mean, they can't stop people coming in either. But let's get on. So the whole socialist worldview comprises, and the way they think of how you can tax and legalise people, legally persecute them, it depends on them not being able to get out of the country and to be controlled in that sort of way. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that really round here. Not yet anyway. So, on Monday night, ministers backed the increased use of NCHIs for incidents of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. Right, that's what they said. It's been put in as for Islamophobia, and then anti-Semitism is used as a sort of straw man, if that's the right one. A deflection. They can say, well, we're not trying to protect Muslims only. We're not constructing our entire worldview around the protection of Islam and Muslim precepts and Muslim societies. Remember, we're saying anti-Semitism as well, so that makes it all right. But it doesn't, because it depends on how you define these things. For instance, and I can't find it, I'm afraid, but there was I suppose it was on X, but a Jewish woman, I think she had an American accent, was being harassed by some Hamas people, and she complained to a policeman about it, and the policeman said something like, well, that's his opinion. I can't do anything about that. On the other hand, we do have this.
And I want to make sure that you're aware of that, because you are wrongly arresting him.
And in that little clip, we see a Jewish man being arrested because he is likening the Hamas people who have masks on to the KKK. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable parallel to draw. But obviously somebody has said that this offends him, and because of that, this fellow is now being arrested. Whether he will be charged with a crime or a non-crime hate offence of some sort is, well, I don't know what happened. This is a fairly recent thing. I don't know what the case is. But you can see here that the police have chosen to deal with this young man, and the people who are supporting Hamas and making Hitler salutes, they don't get arrested. So it's a matter of how the police interpret these things. So it's all very well saying they're against Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, but the police appear to be highly partial in how they actually define those two non-crime offences or full crime offences. Anyway, In June 2023, Suella Braverman, the Conservative Home Secretary at the time, ordered police to stop recording non-crime hate incidents, which do not meet the criminal threshold, but are logged by police regardless, just because someone was offended. And I want to point out something here. This has not been passed into law. This is something that the police are doing that is not a law. It's the police coming up with making it up as they go along. But the fact is, this is not a law, and the police are enforcing it. And that is probably the most disturbing thing at all. We are getting a Home Secretary who is encouraging the police to make up laws and enforce the laws they've made up. And I don't see, even The Guardian should be fulminating about this. I was going to say, you can't just make up laws and enforce them, but yeah, obviously you can. In its section on the extreme right, the Home Office report says claims of two-tier policing, where two groups are allegedly treated differently after similar behaviour, are an example of a right-wing extremist narrative which is leaking into mainstream debate. Not leaking, it's coming in like a flood. Because when you get people like Peter Lynch, who is arrested and then sent to jail for 3 years for holding up a poster that says the police are scum, and words to that effect. I mean, some of it conspiratorial, some of it perfectly reasonable comment. And then you get people who are put in jail for 6 months for interfering with a child. People don't have to be right-wing to recognise that there's a little mathematics there that is wrong. It also warns right-wing extremists frequently exploit cases of alleged group-based sexual abuse to promote anti-Muslim sentiment, as well as anti-government and anti-political correctness narratives. You see, this is what I'm saying. It's a matter of how you treat the evidence, not a matter of how the evidence is. Home Office sources rejected the two-tier claims, saying the police carry out their duties without fear nor favour. Without fear or favour. And we support them in their vital work to keep the public safe. Well, there's another one where... I don't know. You see a lot of stuff about Jews complaining to the police. There was one where, the police said that some guy was visibly Jewish and he shouldn't be there on the street, something like that. As a matter of fact, they apologised for that. But that's not the point. The point is the policeman did actually say that because he thought that was the right way to act. It echoes Sir Keir Starmer's warning last week following the sentencing of the Southport murderer that Britain needed to redefine terrorism because of a new threat from attackers radicalised by extreme violence without any fixed ideology. Well, yeah, that's something that Prevent really could deal with if Prevent weren't fixated on looking for extreme right, an extreme right that doesn't exist. But it is. I made a video. The previous video I made was about that very thing. Mr. Stott and Mr. Gilligan warned the new approach was also in danger of deprioritising Islamism, which was responsible for 94% of all terrorist deaths in Britain since 1999 and comprised 80% of police counter-terror work. That's something ridiculous, like 45,000 people that MI5 are keeping an eye on. I may have that figure wrong. But yeah, when they're talking about right-wing Islamophobia, they are deep. Ordinary people who aren't the educated elite, they see what Islamism is doing. Apparently the educated elite can't. This new approach risks swamping already stretched counter-extremism interveners and counter-terror police with tens, if not hundreds of thousands of new cases, making it more likely that dangerous people will be missed. So they're saying, if you allow more people to make complaints about, non-crime hate incidents, then a lot of stuff, well, I don't know, somebody else said, was it about this? That you're just making the haystack bigger, and so you're going to have more trouble finding the needles. Some of the definitions of extremism also threaten free speech. What do you mean threaten? They absolutely squash free speech, defining aspects of normal and legitimate political debate as extremist. Among its recommendations, the report also said ministers should consider a new offence of making harmful communications likely to cause psychological harm. Well, anyone can do that, especially if you are already psychologically on the edge. And then I just want to go back to this Islamophobia and anti-Semitism thing. They are actually two completely different things. And let's try and nail it down. The anti-Semite believes that Jews are responsible for all the evils of the world. And so this means that even if a Jew does not believe in the religion, that doesn't excuse him from being part of some sort of a worldwide conspiracy to destroy everything around him. That's what anti-Semites come up with. And that is very, very deeply ingrained, particularly in the Muslim world. You see, of course, examples of it anywhere else as well. Islamophobia, it was made up to slap down people who find the philosophy of Islam not to their liking, who see a lot of things wrong with the religion. And then the people who cry Islamophobia start conflating the religion with anyone with a brown skin. Anyone. And even though there are people who do have a problem with Islam, I have never heard them say that every Muslim in the world has to be exterminated to purify the world. There's a completely different set of beliefs going on here. But as I said, they conflate, this government is conflating Islamophobia with anti-Semitism because they know anti-Semitism makes no logical sense. And they're hoping to thereby put Islamophobia in the same category. But when you have Muslims who are blowing people up, that is the sort of behaviour that people are rightly worried about. As Jackie Mason once said, I mean, you start walking through a Jewish area, are you really going to get worried about being beaten up by an accountant? Okay, well, yeah, that's it. So we are actually retrograding here in our society because this government believes it can control the way people think. And again, let's go back to Rachel Reeves' tax plan. The belief is that if you put enough controls over people, you have a perfect society. That only works when you have a fence all the way around your borders. Yeah, that's it. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.